Welcome to Forest Chat, where we talk about individual endeavour in Western Australia, what it takes, what it means, and how you do it. I'm your host, Paul Vandermeer, and in today's episode, we're talking with Cara Sackett about homeschooling. Cara has just graduated from her third year as a homeschooler. She's been teaching her vibrant young son everything he needs to know to be good at what he needs to be in life. Welcome to Forest Chat, Cara.
Thank you, Paul, for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Cara. We've been working on this for some time, and it's great to actually be able to talk about homeschooling. Really looking forward to it. What is homeschooling?
Homeschooling. So I had to think about this for a little bit because I think the best way to describe it is more home education, because the biggest misconception I think with homeschooling is that you replicate mainstream school at home, which is what some people might do. My personal experience, I don't necessarily do that. So homeschooling isn't going to be the same for every family. It's a very different experience for each person based on your child's needs, based on how you teach. And I guess the analogy I can give, like I gave to you when we were chatting before, is that you could have 30 people do the same art class, and at the end of that art class, you're going to end up with 30 different perspectives of the same subject. I do use the term homeschooling myself, but I guess it's more about home education. It's such a broad subject. I look at it as educating my son spiritually, holistically, academically, emotionally. It's not just about teaching him literacy and numeracy. It's about educating him for life. And I guess we as parents sometimes are made to believe that we have no agency over our child's education. They should be going to a teacher. But really, we're our child's first educators. And I get asked quite a lot, oh, do you have a teaching background? I don't. I have a corporate background. But I feel like, we, for the first 5 years before our children do attend any sort of institution of learning, we are their teachers. So why not? Why can't we be there to teach them the other or the bigger aspects of life?
Interesting that you actually have taken on, unknowingly understanding that you've taken on the full breadth of what your child needs to know to get ahead in life.
Yes. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was extremely daunting at the beginning, because also I think there are a lot of misconceptions and stereotypes about homeschooling. And I will fully own up to it. I held those same stereotypes and misconceptions myself until I jumped in and did it myself. There's lots of different ways that people choose to do it. So some people will completely unschool their children in the way that they don't really want them to function within an education system. So it might be something as simple as, they visit a museum or they go to a shipwreck and do some snorkeling, and then when they come home, they write about the environment that they've just been in or what they've learnt about, and then they're developing their writing skills or literacy skills because they're recalling comprehension. Or there might be people who choose a more natural approach where they teach around their child's interests. And I actually read a story about a lady who I thought this was a very clever approach. Her son was obsessed with Japan. Yeah, interested in everything Japanese. So what she did to try and cover literacy, numeracy, society, culture. So she'd teach him about the population when it came to maths, or they'd learn Japanese as a language. Basically, where she could, she tried to fit in different ways to teach him about Japan, but to fit it within, numeracy and literacy and society and culture, which I thought was really clever. There's a hybrid approach. So my son actually did a hybrid approach for a little while where I sent him to educator for 2 days a week, and it was capped at 10 children were taught by that same teacher. And then for the other 3 days, that teacher sent home a curriculum for us to follow. And that really benefited him. And I met some good friends through that, which is great. And, you know, they'll learn all different things. Like kids can go and learn woodworking skills. They'll learn outdoor skills, music, art, cooking. It's limitless what you can teach. And then there's also co-ops. So a co-op is where a group of homeschooling families will come together and pool their time and resources. And maybe they might spend money on hiring tutors to come in and teach their children, or they'll take turns at teaching the children throughout the term. Or there's also curriculums that you can follow. So that's what I personally do. So for my son, we do a mix of curriculum and then natural learning with him. You can learn all the time. It doesn't need to be a sit-down structured learning. There's always opportunities to learn. If we're sitting in the car and he asks us a question, I don't know, it could be something really random and we don't know the answer. We'll be like, okay, let's look that up when we get home. So I use a curriculum called The Good and the Beautiful. It's a Christian-based curriculum. It encompasses a lot of art and creativity, which I really love. And my son enjoys art and creativity. And then anything that's natural learning. So if I don't know, like perfect example is he wants to build a robot. Okay, build a robot. You know, it's developing his fine motor skills, teaching him how to read instruction. He loves building Legos. So there's days where, I don't know, if we're coming towards school holidays and I'm just feeling a bit like, yeah, I'm done for the year. I just like, go build something. Go use your creativity, build something. And he is actually very good at building. So I'm trying to talk to him about, I guess, trying to give him ideas of, you know, what would you want to do when you're older, job-wise? You know, you seem to enjoy building things, or do you like the planning stage of your creation? Because then you could think about something like architecture or engineering. And then, then we go down that path. Oh, Mama, what's the architecture? What's an architect? What's an engineer? Oh, okay, well, this is what they do. So then, you know, you're just giving him some ideas of where he can go. And in all fairness, he could get to high school and be like, I don't want to do any of those things. It's just trying to get him thinking about what he's good at and what he can think about doing.
Some curiosity mixed with self-reflection.
Yes, yeah.
So there's a number of different ways that you can actually go about homeschooling or home education, as you like to call it. Mm-hmm. So, Cara, do you have any examples of how you might use natural learning to teach something?
Yes. So maths can be found with cooking. My son loves cooking. He loves cooking with my husband. And he's learning fractions because you're learning those measurements with cooking. So fractions can be taught with cooking. Or science and environment is something as simple as him being in the garden, because we grow our own fruit and veggies. Just talking to him about the seasons, how the fruit grows, the quality and the health of the soil. It honestly could be that simple. Or even just he really loves going for wildflower walks. So I might take him to Wireless Hill and we'll just go have a look at all the wildflowers, but I'll get him to read or try and read the names of the flowers. And then he'll take a sketchbook. He'll draw what he sees and then just, you know, label the parts of the flower. So the stem, the leaf, a thorn, you know, that you're still learning. Or it could be going to the farmer's market. So community engagement. So when we go to the farmer's market, I will give him the money to pay for what we're buying, so that he's learning some sort of interaction with people. But then it's also, again, that's maths. Or if I'm giving them $10 and it's this much, how much change am I going to get? So those are just a few examples of natural learning that it's not even necessarily for homeschooling. That's just stuff you do with your kids, but they're still learning, and it's not in forced is the wrong word, like a sit-down environment. They're still learning not sitting at a desk.
And does he enjoy it?
Does he enjoy homeschooling?
Yeah.
I asked him that and he said, it depends on what day, I think, what kind of day he's having. But I guess the best feedback I get is because we have a mix of friends. So some of our friends, their kids are homeschooled, and some of our friends, their kids go to primary school. So I ask him, I say, would you want to go back to school? And he's like, no, I don't want to go back to school. So I guess that's the best feedback I can get, is that he's enjoying homeschooling. And I'm very lucky that he's a very articulate and emotionally mature kid, in the sense that if he is feeling frustrated, he will tell me. Sometimes it's making sense in my head, but it's not making sense in his head. And he'll say, Mama, I don't understand. Can you explain it a different way? Or, like, obviously we spend a lot of time together. So there are times where we do get frustrated with each other. I'm not, as soon as I finish being his teacher, I'm still his mama. So we're together a lot. So there are times when he's said to my husband when he's got home from work, and my husband said, how was school today? Or did you have a good day? I think Mama and I need a break from each other. So he's very honest about that. And I'll say, yep, I think we do need a break from each other because we've got a bit frustrated with each other today. So yeah, we have a very honest, open relationship. And I don't think that's something we would have had he been in mainstream school, because we wouldn't have as much time together to foster that closeness and that open relationship.
It sounds like we'll have a bit to talk about when we come to talk about what it means. Cara, what does it take you to home educate your son?
It definitely takes a lot of patience, good budgeting skills, flexibility, and preparation and commitment, I would say. So definitely patience. I feel like I've definitely learnt to be a lot more patient. I used to be a bit of I wouldn't say a hothead, but my frustration used to get the better of me, definitely. But also, I think that was the carryover from working and also parenting. This was back when I was working. And my husband said to me the other day, he said, I've never seen you happier than how you've been with homeschooling Elijah. So that was a nice compliment to receive. And he's right. It's the only job I've never been paid for, but I'm the happiest doing it.
And it's a job with some really big commitment and takes a lot from you to actually achieve it.
It is a big commitment, because at the end of the day, obviously your child will also learn from other, like, as teachers. So my son does a lot of extracurricular activities. So basketball, he does flight squad at bounce, he's done soccer. So he learns from other people, which I think is important. But ultimately, my husband and I are his main educators. So it is a big commitment, but it's worth it, because you do see those. Eventually, I'm not going to know the value of it till I guess he's finished his school years and he can tell me, oh, wow, Mum, you did a great job. Or you did a terrible job. I don't know. But I feel like within 6 months of choosing to do homeschooling, we saw the benefits. And I feel like that's a reasonably short time frame to see such a huge benefit for such a big life choice to make. And what else? Oh, budgeting. Definitely it takes good budgeting skills. Obviously, we have to function on one income. So I pretty much budget every dollar. But you get used to it. You learn. The other wonderful thing about homeschooling is that we've learned to live with less. I think you just learn that the simple life is the best life, and you don't need to be distracted by material things. And when we stopped having my income, we realized a lot of my income was just being spent on us going out, or just, like Catch.com's got a sale, let's just buy something. You stop that materialistic way of thinking. And now basically all we save for every year is for our camping trips up north. And that's the highlight of our year.
It would be great to hear about some of that a bit later on, because I know that's on the schedule.
Preparation, yes. You definitely need some form of organization and preparation, especially if you're choosing to follow a curriculum of some sort. Yeah, it's basically you just jump in the deep end and you're left to your own devices. So you pretty much call the Department of Education, express your interest in homeschooling, and they will ask you, do you know if you want to follow a curriculum, or is there somewhere that you'd like to send your child? So that I had a conversation with a representative probably for about half an hour, 45 minutes, just to get some ideas. And then once I'd filled in all my paperwork, I was registered as a homeschooler, home educator, and it's like, yep, now figure it out yourself. So that was a bit daunting for the first 6 months. Then you find your feet, you find your style of teaching, you find what works for your child or your children, and yeah, just go with what works for you. Tailor it to what works for both of you, or all of you, I should say. Sorry, I keep talking about people who have. I'm talking from a one-child perspective. I know people who've homeschooled 6 kids, and I'm like, you're my hero. How'd you do it?
Yeah, that's a lot of kids to homeschool, to keep up with.
Yeah,
All be in different years and have different needs. And
exactly. But they've found the formula that works for them, and some of those kids have entered university early, so it's they've found what suits their children, how whatever benefits them best, and yeah, I think that's fantastic. So I'm looking forward to talking to those parents when my son becomes high school age. What did you do? I'm just dealing with primary school at the moment.
So much more to look forward to.
Yeah.
And what did you have after organisation?
Flexibility. Definitely need some sort of flexibility. As I touched on before, sometimes you get frustrated with each other, and not every day will go to plan. We all have bad days. I have bad days. My son has bad days. And on those days, there's no point forcing any sort of learning, because you're just going to get frustrated with each other. So on those days where I can tell he's just not in the right frame of mind, or I might also be mentally exhausted, I'll suggest, shall we go to the library? And then we'll just go read some books, because then he loves reading. It's still learning. He's still, engaging his brain, but it gives us a bit of a break from something structured. So I think flexibility is definitely an important thing to consider, because life doesn't always go to plan.
You could do a project management course after this lot.
Isn't that what mums are? We're just project managers.
In a lot of ways, you go, you want to cook something? It's a project. You want to paint
exactly.
a room? It's a project. If you want to, get ready to go to the beach, it's a project.
Do you know?
All the criteria.
I was one of my friends was talking to me, saying that she read an article somewhere about how they put out a job advertisement for a project manager, and they had to be able, to have, they needed budgeting skills, they needed people skills, project management skills, just like the works. And they had to be available and on call 24/7, no days off. You didn't get any sick pay, didn't get any holiday, and you didn't get paid anything. Would you apply for that job? People were like, no. And at the end they said, well, that's pretty much what a mum does.
Yes, yes. Mums have a super important role in the family, but also in society, because if the mum doesn't do the nurturing things, you don't have enough nurtured people in society to keep it on track.
It's so true. So true. And the father, the masculine role is so important too. Like it's, oh my gosh, I'll end up on a different tangent if I go to that way. But it's very important having the nurturing, emotional parent as the mother or maternal figure, and then father who teaches, you know, like a boy to become a man, I guess. Yeah, able to stand up for yourself. Yeah. My husband's actually reading a book at the moment called How to Teach Your Son to Become a Knight. He's really good at self-development, and he reads a lot of books to really, I guess, help nurture. And I mean, I just said the maternal role was nurturing, but just become the best dad he can be to our son. But yeah, I guess Elijah sees that Rob and I are always trying to self-improve and learn, and hopefully that's what he'll take on board as well. Like, we're always trying new things, always learning, reading, researching. Hopefully that is passed down through action as well, or observation.
It's a good example that you're setting, and you're hoping that he can follow
Thank you. Hopefully.
We've had a look at how much it takes to home educate your child or children. Now we'll have a break, and after the break we'll come back and look at what it means. We've had a look at what it means to home educate your child. Now let's have a look at what it means. Cara, what does it mean to you, your family, or the community that you're able to home educate your son?
Such a big question. I feel that homeschooling absolutely changed my whole perspective on life and family. My two priorities are my husband and my son. They are the two most important people in my world, and it has brought us so much closer as a family to have that extra time together to spend. When I reflect on how early I went back to work after my son was born, so I went back to work when he was 11 months old. And it used to upset me because he wasn't very bonded to me. And now he always wanted to be with my husband or any male that was around. He just wanted to be around boys. And now when I reflect on that, it's because I should have stayed at home to build that extra bond with him. He was watching me leave and wondering where his mum was going, probably, And then once I made that decision to stop working, because I actually stopped working the year before we made the decision to start homeschooling. Having that time back together created that bond that I unconsciously was breaking by going to work. And again, this is no judgment on anyone that works. This is just my personal experience and how it affected our family, because I completely understand that everyone's different. How has it changed for my son? It's created a really good, close foundation for our family. We, like I mentioned to you, we go camping up north all the time. And again, that's another great education point for our son. So he knows how to build a campfire safely, and he knows how to cast and reel in his own fish. You see the size of the fish he caught up in the Kimberley this year. He caught a 96 centimetre king threadfin salmon. It was nearly the size of him. It was incredible. And the three of us were on the beach. There was no one else around. We were just like whooping and like screaming with joy. We were so happy because my husband and I have spent 6 years trying to catch a fish like that, and our son went and beat us to it. So he was thrilled. But then, he learns about the wildlife up there, the seasons. He catches frogs, he catches geckos. We saw quite a few snakes this year, so that was not fun for me. We've seen crocodiles. Well, the poor little thing, he actually accidentally rode over a tree snake. So that was an interesting teaching point, because I told him, I said, don't ride your bike over the leaf litter, because it's the hottest part of the dry season. There's probably frogs and snakes hiding under the leaves, under the leaf litter. Anyway, he went to ride over the leaf litter and then rode over one of the tree snakes, and obviously it reared up to try and bite him, and he got scared, but we had to explain to him it wasn't trying to hurt you, it was defending itself because you rode over it. So yeah, he made sure not to ride on the leaf litter after that. It's definitely changed. Homeschooling for our family has changed us for the better. And as long as it benefits our son, we will continue to do it. Because everyone's question is, oh, are you going to do it all the way through high school? I have no idea. I didn't think I'd be homeschooling 4 years ago. So it's such an odd thing to ask. I don't know. Like, life throws you a lot of curveballs, as you and I both know. You just have to go with the flow and do the best you can.
So it's been an amazing bonding opportunity for the whole family.
Definitely. And because of my husband's job, he gets a lot of days off because of his shift work. So that also helps with the amount of family time that we can spend together as well. It's weird. It's actually, so I'm sitting in my living room by myself, and that is a rarity because the reason I could do this podcast with you this week is because my son's at basketball camp for the week. So I dropped him off yesterday and I came home. My husband was at work and I came home to an empty house and was like, what do I do with myself? I'm not used to having all this time and this quiet. So it's all right. I got used to it today. It was just the first day. It was a bit weird. I'll be enjoying the rest of my week off.
How does what you're doing impact on the community?
I've built community through homeschooling. I guess the great thing about meeting other homeschoolers is also learning different ways of teaching. You know, if a child might be having difficulty with something, making suggestions of what maybe you've tried. The curriculum that I'm actually using at the moment was because another homeschooling mum recommended it to me. And then I recommended it to another homeschooling mum who said, this is great because I've been really struggling with my child and she's now really enjoying this curriculum. So in that sense, it's really great. I really appreciate the community that we've found because we don't just talk about homeschooling. We also share many similar values in regards to family and health and lifestyle. So just having those types of conversations with people who share the same values is also really beneficial. I've found we've just met a whole new group of friends, which has been fantastic.
There's a lot of meaning in homeschooling your child or children. We'll have a break now, and after the break, we'll have a look at how you do it. We've had a look at what it means. Now we'll have a look at how you do it. Cara, how do you start at least the process of homeschooling your child?
So first you have to, I guess it depends on whether all you're going to do is homeschool or if you have a child who's already in school and you make that decision. So if you have a child that's already in school, you need to notify your school and then contact the Department of Education and let them know that you intend to homeschool. And from my understanding, I could be wrong, you need to do that within 2 weeks of taking your child out of mainstream school. Whereas for me, actually, my son attended the local kindergarten, the local primary kindergarten. So he was only there 5 days a fortnight, but I had enrolled him for pre-primary. So I just had to notify them that I was no longer, he would no longer be attending. And then I called the Department of Education and expressed my interest. So I think I said before, yeah, they'll have a conversation with you about how you'd like to homeschool, what your thoughts are about whether you want to go curriculum based or hybrid based or co-op or whatever. Yeah, and then you just jump in the deep end and go for it. But you are kept accountable. So I have a moderator that comes out to visit me once a year because she needs to track and make sure that my son is progressing. The good thing about homeschooling is that, like I said, you don't have to replicate what happens in school. So a perfect example would be my son's 8 years old. If he went to mainstream school, he would have just finished year 2 because he's a July born. So he would have just finished year 2. And if he was behind or ahead, I don't think there's really any consideration for that or allowances for that. So with me home educating him, he's actually doing some year 3 and 4 maths because he's quite strong in maths, but then he's probably doing in between a year 1 and year 2 level of English. But then he's reading books that maybe year 4s would read. So that's where homeschooling is really great, where you can tailor it to your child, to their strengths. You know, if they're going really well in a particular subject, you don't have to hold them back. You can be like, okay, great, let's keep going with this. Or if they are struggling with something, you can take that little bit of extra time and work through it with them, so they don't feel like they're falling behind as such, like they would in school. So we're really, really lucky that our moderator, she's very aligned with our family values. She understands how I like to teach my son, you know, what's important to us with teaching him. And she's almost like a part of our extended homeschooling family. I actually really look forward to my visits with her because she used to be a primary school teacher herself. So sometimes if she sees or if she likes something I'm doing, she'll try and help me extend on it to help with Elijah's learning, which I really appreciate because, yeah, it's always nice to hear different perspectives because maybe someone might suggest something that you've not thought of yourself. So, yes, so we are held accountable, and I get a report or an email after she's come to visit just to let me know that I'm on track. I've not yet had anything to say that I'm not on track, so I don't know what happens in that. I'm not actually really sure what happens in that scenario. So again, can only speak from my personal experience. So yeah, she's very happy with what I do and how I go about things. So that's nice to have that feedback from her.
So that's a pretty clear way of keeping up to date, and sounds like it's done in a very positive way in your experience. So that's really good. And if someone was new to this, and you talked about all these different styles of educating a child, are there some good places people can look to get ideas about the scope of opportunities that might be out there for them to home educate?
Definitely. So Facebook is my main source of finding out things about homeschooling. I don't actually use it to post anything. The only reason I'm actually even on Facebook is only for homeschooling groups and community groups. So there's a lot of great community groups that advertise different events for homeschoolers throughout the year, different days they can attend. Because the other great thing is places like Sackett or Aqua will have special discount days for homeschoolers. So people will notify each other on their Facebook groups of different things like that. There's also, so I actually found the hybrid version of the homeschooling group that my son went to, I found that teacher on Facebook. She just happened to be advertising saying, oh, I'm looking for some more students for my term 3 class. If you're interested, just give me a call. So Facebook has been a great source of finding different communities, and they won't always be based around the education or activity part. Sometimes they're just catch-ups. I just happened to go to a north of the river homeschool catch up, and after that I've actually made some really good friends from that group, and we introduced all our husbands, and we all try and catch up because they're a bit further away. We all try and catch up at least once every 2 to 3 months. So it's nice too, like just meeting other families through that as well.
So there's very much a sense of community if you decide to go into that.
Definitely. Yeah, well, you need to find your community, otherwise you can end up quite isolated, because I guess it is that extra bit of effort that you have to put in because your child isn't going to school every day. So when your child's going to school every day, you're going to see parents at drop off and pick up, and you have your conversations there. Oh, someone's got a birthday this week. Whereas in the homeschooling community, you really have to make that extra effort to engage. And me especially so, I'm very conscious of that, having an only child.
Thank you very much, Cara, for being on Forest.chat, and all Forest.chat listeners wish you the best in your future endeavours.
Thank you very much, Paul, for having me on. I really appreciate you allowing me to talk about my personal experience. It's actually been really fun. I was a bit nervous, but it's been really fun.
Thank you, Cara. It's been fabulous having you on Forest.chat. You've been listening to Forest.chat, where we talk about individual endeavour in Western Australia, what it takes, what it means, and how you do it. I'm your host, Paul Vandermeer, and today we're talking with Cara Sackett about home education. Remember, there are 4 ways to get involved with Forest.chat. Share the domain Forest.chat with your friends and family and people you meet. Listen to the episodes at forest.chat/episodes. If you do something that's interesting that other people might want to do, then book an interview at forest.chat/interview. If you want to support a local business, book an advert at forest.chat/advert. I'm looking forward to joining you with our next guest. Until then, enjoy making it happen.